It's the week of Halloween, and everybody dressed up like it was Halloween on Dancing with the Stars like any other Halloween. So let's get into it. How's it going, guys? It's Eric Sharkey, aka Dancing with the Stars Superfan, back with another video, and we are going to talk about Villains Night, which is inspired by villains from movies, TV shows, and many more. They did a fantastic job with the hair, the makeup, and the costumes all together, because it's Halloween and it's the time to dress up. For this episode recap, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm still going to do my usual thing where I'm talking about the couples, the music, the dancing, and all that stuff that I usually do, but I'm going to tell you guys which dance and the music is inspired by which villain they took part of. And if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and smash that like button, and also turn on post notifications to get you notified by my latest Dancing with the Stars content video. So without further ado, let's get started. First up is Jeannie and Brandon dancing the Paso Doble to Man Eater by Nelly Furtado, inspired by Hannibal Lecter. Derek said she absolutely ate that paso, but her shoulders were way too high, as the mean side of Derek's Two-Face costume, which Tyra Banks mistakes him for Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Bruno said she makes a meal out of that, she has a lot of gusto and intention, but she needs to work on extending her lines through her arms. Carrie-Anne loves the way she dances full out, but she wants Jeannie to rein in some of the energy to give her more grace. In my mind, it was a great way to start the show. Even though she had a little trouble with the lines and the shapes, it was still a great dance. So judge scores are Carrie-Anne an 8, Derek a 9, Bruno an 8, giving them a score 25 out of 30. Next up is Johnny and Britt dancing the Viennese Waltz to Creep by Vincent and Kimberly Nicole, inspired by Dracula. Bruno said it was very, very good, and the Price of Darkness reawakens and rules the dance floor. He had wonderful sweeping motions and nailed the gothic romance feel. Carrie-Anne agrees with Bruno. He floated through the dance with interpretation to the music more than she's seen. Derek loved the vision of the song and how Johnny redeemed himself after last week's poor showing. I'm really happy that Johnny redeemed himself from last week, from a struggling salsa and being at the bottom 2 last week, to redeeming himself this week. So judge scores are, they were all 9s from the judges, giving them a score 27 out of 30. Next up is CHRISHELL and GLEB dancing the Paso Doble to In the Air Tonight by Von Lipton, inspired by Maleficent Moniz. Carrie-Anne thought CHRISHELL was in her element with great storytelling and simple moves executed beautifully. Derek agrees that the routine called for the simpler movements. There were a few off-balance movements, but overall, everybody's crushing it tonight. Bruno compliments her spot-on focus and intention, but she lost her fluidity at times, but overall, it was a very strong performance. Even though Bruno and Derek point out some problems during the dance, it was still considered an improvement and her best dance so far. Some people wanted to see her dance a little more because she was just standing there and doing nothing, but she needs to dance a little more. So judge scores are Carrie-Anne a 9, Derek a 9, Bruno an 8, giving them a score 26 out of 30. Next up is Monica and Val dancing the Jazz to Fever by Beyonce, inspired by Nurse Ratched. Derek compliments the musicality, the seductive energy, but he lost the character in her side-by-side movements. Bruno didn't get a fever, he got more of a mild chill. He loved her leg extensions, but she needs to dance more through the body and not just the arms and legs. Carrie-Anne agrees with Bruno. The shapes were great, but she was missing the intention of the character. It wasn't her best dance. I thought it was a good jazz routine, but apparently it was lacking a little bit, but other than that, it was a good dance though. So judge scores are Carrie-Anne a 7, Derek an 8, Bruno a 7, giving them a score 22 out of 30. Next up is AJ and CHERYL dancing the tango to Psycho by the Intermezzo Orchestra, inspired by Norman Bates. Carrie-Anne thought he brought light and shade, but he needs to work a little more on his posture. Derek loved the intro of Norman Bates' mother, and he paid close attention to his well-done footwork, but he needs to work on the balance of shapeness and softness. Bruno admired how AJ translated the mood of the character into the footwork, but he needs to work on his frame. I'm really happy that AJ is improving week by week. Even though he has a little trouble with his posture and staccato movements that he needs to work on a little bit more, it was still a good dance. Before the show, CHERYL was sent to the hospital because during the rehearsal, she fell down and hit her head on the floor, but the good news is, she's checked and released from the hospital and is A-OK. So judge scores are Carrie-Anne a 9, Derek an 8, Bruno a 9, giving them a score 26 out of 30. Next up is Nelly and Daniella dancing the Argentine tango to Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd, inspired by Freddy Krueger. KAITLYN thought it was by far his best dance. Derek said that was definitely not a nightmare, but he wanted to see more Argentine tango footwork from him, although he was a good partner to Daniella. Bruno thought he killed that Argentine tango. He held himself well. This is by far my favorite dance from him because he has improved so much. There's a lot of things that I want to say about that dance, and I don't want to talk about it much because it would take too long. All I wanted to say is, it was downright amazing. So judges' scores are, there were all 9s from the judges, giving them a score 27 out of 30. This marks Daniella's first 9s of her Dancing with the Stars career as a pro. So well done, Daniella. Next up is Justina and Sasha, dancing the tango to Take Me to Church by Milk, inspired by Carrie White. Derek said she literally set this place on fire, and her frame is exquisite, and she travels well across the floor, although she needed to keep her feet together a little more during those last turns. Bruno thought it was a little too hoppy and steppy, but otherwise it was so powerful. KAITLYN agrees with Bruno. Even though she's one of the best dancers here, she owns the space and she has a real chance to win the whole thing. We don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. I felt like the dance was powerful as well, and I love Justina screaming during the dance, and she fit into the character really well, but she has to work on keeping her feet together and not be so hoppy during the tango. But other than that, it was still a good dance. So judges' scores are KAITLYN a 9, Derek a 9, Bruno an 8, giving them a score 26 out of 30. Next up is Neve and Jenna dancing the Paso Doble to Swan Lake remix by District 78, inspired by Black Swan. Bruno said it was perfect, true to Black Swan, and he lived up to the expectations. KAITLYN thought he exceeded her expectations with great lines and negative space and character, and Derek thought it was beautiful, and I think he's pondering 10s. I would have to say, out of all the Paso Dobles I have seen on Dancing with the Stars, it was probably by far the most powerful Paso Doble I have ever seen. So the scores are, they were all 10s from the judges, which marks the first perfect score of the season. So well done, Neve and Jenna. Next up is Sky and Alan dancing the Argentine tango to Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish, inspired by Tiffany, who was known as the bride of Chucky, the killer doll. KAITLYN started off by saying she is proud of her. She has had the roughest road this season, but she was better than ever with just one little wobble. Otherwise, she said it was mesmerizing. Derek thought she was on a mission, focused, and there were amazing lifts in that dance. Bruno thought the way she extended her shapes and placements were her best ever. Despite the little wobble that KAITLYN noticed, it was still considered the redemption dance of the night. So judges' scores are, there were all 9s from the judges, giving them a score 27 out of 30. Last up is KAITLYN and ARTEM dancing the Paso Doble to Disturbia by Rihanna, inspired by Cruella de Vil. Derek wants to adopt sexy puppy ARTEM, and he appreciated how well she handled all the choreography. Bruno agrees that ARTEM makes a lovely pet, although the routine was a little rushed and the timing wasn't as crisp. KAITLYN didn't think she was resistant enough, and she gave up from time to time. That was a great way to end the night. And this time she attacked the dance, but she has to work on her timing, but there were some other moves that she needed to work on, but other than that, it was still a good dance, but it was not too bad though. So judges' scores are KAITLYN a 7, Derek a 9, Bruno an 8, giving them a score 24 out of 30. You know, in my honest opinion, that 7 was 100% unnecessary. And not talking about that, let's have a look at the leaderboard. At the top of the leaderboard are Neve and Jenna with 30 points, a 3-way tie with 27 points, Sky and Alan, Nelly and Daniella, Johnny and Britt, and a 3-way tie with 26 points, Justina and Sasha, AJ and Cheryl, and CHRISHELL and GLEB. JEANNIE and Brandon with 25 points, KAITLYN and ARTEM with 24 points, and Monica and Val at the bottom with 22 points. The competition is going to get tighter than ever when it gets close to the end. This time, I'm going to downsize my topics. The best dances of the night are Neve and Jenna, Sky and Alan, Johnny and Britt, and Nelly and Daniella. While the improved dancer of the night is Nelly and Daniella. While my favorite dancers of the night are Neve and Jenna, AJ and Cheryl, Sky and Alan, and KAITLYN and ARTEM. Even though they had some problems with the dance, especially with that undeserved 7, it was still considered one of my favorite dances of that night. Now we're going to talk about who is safe and who is in the bottom 2, as well as the couple who got eliminated. The couples who are safe are Neve and Jenna, Johnny and Britt, Sky and Alan, Nelly and Daniella, CHRISHELL and GLEB, Justina and Sasha, AJ and Cheryl, and the last to be called safe is KAITLYN and ARTEM, while Monica and Val and JEANNIE and Brandon are the bottom 2. Bruno votes to save JEANNIE and Brandon, Derek votes to save Monica and Val, another surprise split vote from the judges save, while KAITLYN votes to save Jeannie and Brandon, which means Monica and Val are eliminated. I have to say Monica and Val did a great job overall. They actually did better than I expected. I kind of figured she would be gone during the middle half of the season like they did, just because she's a Netflix star, she's an unrecognizable star, and I kind of figured her fan base would not carry her along close near to the end, because her fan base is not really as strong as the other contestants that season, just like I said before. Well, on the bright side is, they exceeded my expectations, and they had some not good dances during their run, but they had some good dances as well. And I'm sure her cheer team is proud of her, and I'm sure her family is very proud of her as well that she did Dancing with the Stars. And that'll do it for this video. So next week, they will be having a double elimination. Not only that, the couples will have 2 dances. Not sure how it's going to play out, but we'll just have to wait and see. The next week after that will be Icons Night. So stay tuned for that. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Eric Sharkey, aka Dance with the Stars Superfan. Catch you next time, and a happy Halloween to you all.